Chapter 37. Me and Galatea didn't even have the time to get in an argument about her dumbass, literally following me into hell as an utterly massive shadow grew to tower over us. "What the hell is that?" she whispered as the solidified 300-meter or so shadow monster with a set of 7 glowing orange-slitted eyes leaned over towards us with nefarious intent. "A demon. Or just some other monsters that came to hell to feast upon the broken denizens within," I said. And for the first time since I had my little burst of excitement I fully with no holds barred unveiled my spiritual pressure cratering the ground around me and making Galatea fly off to distance herself from the sensation while I wordlessly met the shadow monster that reminded me of the tales of the Fomorians in Celtic lore. Not that hell gave a damn which mythology you were from, as all monsters were equally welcome with suffering and hostility from the inhabitants and environment. And just as I thought, the massive almost certainly Fomorians glowed ever brighter. And a cascading deluge of crimson light that acted as though it was pure destruction evaporating the nearby brimstone and rocks as I met the magical ocular beams of power with a roar and my own purple pillar of a Cyril that met the Fomorian's magical beam. Wordlessly even as the both of us outputted even more energies literally dyeing the darkened sky of hell with a corona of crimson and royal purple energies I could feel with my pesquisa more entities approaching so I used my wind manipulation to create a solid blade of wind and with another mighty roar. I shoved back the 7 beams of conjoined magic coming from the Fomorian's eyes that were seeking to wipe me from existence, by making my Cyril beam explode and with the Fomorian staggered by the explosion it wasn't able to react when my wind blade whirled through the smoke of the explosion and split the monster in half from top to the bottom. "Galatea. We need to move now," I yelled as I realized that this was almost certainly not the same new plane I was dropping into when I was put in the DC universe. The entities coming towards us at high speeds felt like a match for the Fomorian I just killed and with how densely packed the crowd was I had no idea how many of them there were, and I knew all too well that Galatea had all of 0 magic resistance of which most demons had something magical about them in some way. So, in my anxiety-filled mind, I just wanted to get Galatea out of the way and back to Earth as she was honestly unwanted on my end. Galatea realizing I was still panicky after killing the monster flew over to me with an upraised eyebrow but before she could give me any sass, I grabbed her arm and took off with my traveler essence working its magic, and each of our steps covered miles of distance. Mountains passed by with each step as did lakes and rivers of lava and other infernal fluids. But each step I took while dragging the stupefied Galatea carried us past them until I saw a derelict castle in the distance. Atop a small mountain surrounded by a moat of lava. "That should be fine," I muttered as Galatea was now the one holding my arm as she held in her desire to retch at the feeling of having her sense of space stretched and contorted with all the care of a cat trying to make their own ball of yarn. "Can we go back to Earth? This place is giving me the fucking creeps," Galatea asked as straightened herself back up. "Yeah. You can go back to Earth. I just want some guy time, is that so hard to get?" I said, and before I could even react, I was fucking sucker punched in the back of head burying my head into the stone beneath me. "Boo fucking who, you big baby bitch," Galatea yelled as she threw me out of my little crater she made with my face. You think Diana was happy with Encantadora walking free the moment we turned our eyes from her? No, she was fucking livid, and so is every other single hero that has to deal with the same damn situation, but did you see her throwing a hissy fit? She scolded as I got up wordlessly looking at Galatea with cold eyes. "Maybe coming out of a test tube that Luther jerked off into has filled your empty blonde head with thoughts of heroism matching the Blue Boy Scout, but I won't bother speaking of the suffering that villains bring after endlessly escaping, but do you honestly think that I care about Encantadora's escape that much in particular? No, it's all just the same thing over and over," I said as I ruminated on Jason Todd's fate. And whether I should kill the Joker to save him from such a fate or whether my actions had already changed that fate, and for all I knew Dick Grayson the first and current Robin could instead face that fate. Galatea hearing me refer to her past as a clone and the rest only shook in anger, and then when my little monologue finished, she spoke softly. "Are you done?" "Yes," I said, and after a moment of silence her right fist snapped forward in a jab aiming right for my nose, but I expected the same violent reaction she always had when she didn't like what I said, so I grabbed her fist, and even as she used her flight to attempt to stop my throwing grapple I still managed to use my super hair to anchor myself deeply into the ground as I wrapped my arms and legs around the Kryptonian clone, and brought her down in a chokehold. Turns out that Superman and other Kryptonians needed to prepare for actually holding their breath for a long time. Like when Superman would fly throughout the solar system apparently, he would spend whole minutes just huffing air before flying off, and Galatea most certainly didn't have that kind of preparation. I am not some battered man you can smack around when you don't like what I say, Galatea. I snarled as the frothing mad woman threw elbows into my side and just generally attempted to fly off while my hair went literally dozens of meters into the hard stone beneath us, anchoring to ground so I could keep her pinned. Even as her neck turned red from her exertion, I could understand her snarled words of anger, and not even cursing me in particular. I think she in part literally hated the world a bit, as she cursed everything, everyone, and of course me, and surprisingly Diana, for keeping her on a tight leash. But even a Kryptonian needed to breathe, and after a solid 20 minutes of me holding her in the dirt, her temper tantrum ended and she tapped out by slapping my side, and after a moment of hesitation I decided that hopefully, her timeout session cooled her temper, so I pushed her away as I let go in case she decided to instantly retaliate.